But yes, with this information, you're born with a Sagittarius rising or ascendant at 21 degrees of Sagittarius with Uranus directly conjunct to the ascendant. You're born with a sun in Aquarius conjunct Jupiter at 27 degrees of Aquarius in the 3rd house. Moon in the 6th house at 22 degrees of Taurus. Okay. So, Monica, what I'd like to do in this reading is take into consideration the main points in your email with the focus on your life purpose rather than a specific career. So, with that in mind, I'd like to also incorporate the human design, your human design body graph into this reading because I feel that human design can really give a really great insight into the energy workings inside your body and how to best work with energy alignment in your life. So the first thing that I'm noticing, so I'll flip back and forth between your astrological natal chart and the human design body graph. But within your astrological natal chart, the first thing that I'm noticing very strongly that's popping up here with regards to your life purpose are these planets in Sagittarius, which, you know, some systems are going to interpret them as being the 1st house. Some are going to say that it's in the 12th house, but I would consider your Uranus to definitely be in the 1st house because it's right on the ascendant. Mars is directly in a conjunction with Saturn. That can be a 12th house / 1st house type of an energy, meaning that it's going to operate quite subconsciously for a large part of your life, but you can definitely work with it. And once you do, you can bring it into the kind of like move it into the 1st house to be expressed as a part of your personality. So it goes as something that is a little bit more hidden inside of you, a spewing energy, like, you know, a volcano. There's something spewing there, and ultimately it comes out, and you can see it clearly as this is a part of you, Monica, a part of who you are, and people can see that as a part of your personality. So it's like that lava that's coming out. That's what we're seeing there. Mars does rule your IC, so these are going to be with regards to family dynamics. Saturn does rule the 2nd house as well as the 3rd house. Saturn rules the 2nd, Aquarius rules the 3rd. So that's going to be with regards to, again, this is also a family and how your family builds your sense of self-worth, including siblings. So this is there's something subconscious going on regarding your family, siblings, and the way that they have instilled a core stability inside of you and a sense of values and self-esteem. So what happens when there's a Mars conjunct Saturn is that the fathering figure or the male authority figure while you were growing up, they had a certain amount of display of power and control. So this can also be your siblings that are showing this type of a behavior. It could be something that's going on between you, your sibling, and your father. But it was a way in which when you wanted to act on your spontaneous impulses of the Mars, doing something spontaneously for your desires and pleasure and just following with your own energy, that was being suppressed by a male authority figure who was, you know, if it's in your childhood, and this is a childhood theme, they had more physical power over you because you were a child, right? And they used that physical power to hold you back from acting on something. Now, this can sometimes manifest as physical abuse. Sometimes it can even be sexual trauma, but it doesn't have to be. I don't know. I mean, you let me know how it goes, but I'm not really seeing other themes of sexual traumas going on here, but it could be some kind of physical punishment that was too much for you to handle when you were younger. Okay, Mars is right on Saturn, 8 degrees and 8 degrees. So you may have noticed patterns in your life as you kind of, you know, begin to grow up, that there's a coping mechanism with regards to the way that you are controlling your life. And this can be with regards to material success. So being very ambitious, wanting to have material wealth, material success, recognition, success in your career, that may not come from a place of authenticity, So you said in your email that you're thinking of switching from a corporate career into the field of healing. And I do think that with other signatures in your chart that we'll have a look at very soon, there is a possibility that when you're operating on the coping mechanism of how do you get back that power that was taken away from you when you were younger, the way in which you're going to do that with Mars conjunct Saturn is to control the material success or the recognition in your life as a way of taking back the power. But of course, that's still giving power away to an external force outside of yourself, right? Because if you're dependent on external factors to give you power, then the power hasn't yet been internalized. And so this is something that, you may have experienced, and as you approach your first Saturn return, which would have happened, a few years ago already, that you're setting up a new foundation for how you're going to really internalize your power, empower yourself internally so that it's no longer based on material things. And so when you come to that type of like a realization or that type of an awakening, you may begin to feel the need to go very deeply into yourself, metaphorically, to cut very deeply into yourself and to see your inner child situation. So you already talked about this. I mean, this is one of the points, one of the things that you listed in your email is looking at family struggles and karmic ancestral debt. And so you are already on this journey. But I feel like there's more. There's still more coming up for you because if we look at the transiting planets right now, Monica, we can see that the North Node is in the sign of Gemini, the transiting North Node, collective North Node. So it's going to be conjunct to your descendant, which means the collective South Node is in the sign of Sagittarius, conjunct your descendant, and it will continue to move in this direction. So now it's conjunct Uranus. It's going to continue to move to conjunct your Saturn, conjunct your Mars for the rest of this year. And so the collective South Node is about collective karmas that you can align yourself with when it comes to your own personal your own personal motivations and your personal karma. So we see that at this time in the world, there's a lot of data and information that's coming in the media with regards to North Node and Gemini. Lots of new knowledge and information that can be very useful. But long distance traveling, is something that is being blocked. And with the limitation and inability for a lot of us to move, due to the coronavirus, how do we make a use of that hermit phase, that alone time to resolve our personal karma? So that's going to keep happening here for the rest of the year for you. So I think it's a perfect time actually to be getting this reading and to be like digging even deeper into that Mars conjunct Saturn, which I know you have an ability to go very deep, to focus on the subconscious parts of yourself and to kind of really purge from that. But yes, as you begin to do this, you'll come to a point where knowing is no longer enough. It's now about the body. So you did say that you had a particular spiritual activation, a Kundalini awakening. So I think there's more of that coming for you. And as the South Node begins to move more into the sign of Sagittarius, you may even get into working in energy alignment or having more Kundalini awakenings or getting into somatic therapies, ayahuasca even, and things that can really purge your body and get your body to relax and decondition from past tensions. Yes, past tensions that are now rooted in your muscles that are no longer necessary or required in your life right now. It is a past conditioning of the muscle movement, the muscle tensions in your body. So you will begin to have almost like this bodily transformation that's happening here that the mind-body-soul connection is what rules the sixth house. And so, by the way, you have Uranus going, transiting your sixth house right now. It's in the sign of Taurus. So that's what's going on there. But yes, Monica, there's going to be great physical transformation that is happening for you through this time, and it's coming from a physical transformation of your past conditioning, which is going to allow you to gain a sense of freedom. You're feeling it. You're feeling like if anything's holding you back from your freedom right now with Uranus conjunct the ascendant and the South Node being there, any karma. So karma meaning the consequences of your past action that you may have done on yourself that kept yourself from freedom because of the subconscious, like we talked about, this coping mechanism of the Mars conjunct Saturn with regards to material success that may have kept you from your real authentic freedom. That is going to change. There's some major transformation happening. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would like to address. So that Mars conjunct Saturn is now coming into a square with Venus over here. Okay. It's a pretty close square. It's about 4 degrees orb. And this is a very intense energy that we have going here. Saturn squares Venus, but Mars also squares Venus. This is something that could really impact your personal one-to-one relationships, but any types of social situations. This aspect is going to pop up. And when you have this type of an aspect, it can cause a little bit of, and I want you to take this as, a spiritual growth of yours, a spiritual growth area that I'm seeing here is that there's a need to also, besides from material wealth, seek validation or maybe self-worth within a relationship. And that may be done by, when you have this type of an alignment, let's say you're attracted to somebody, right? You may feel that you gotta have them. There's this feeling of like jumping in pretty quickly into relationships, and Mars conjunct Saturn in a relationship is not the easiest aspect to handle with somebody who's in a relationship with a person with Mars conjunct Saturn, because the person who has a Mars conjunct Saturn may assume entitlement. So I gotta have you now, especially when it's in a square to Venus. But then because Saturn's also in a square to Venus, it's not a one-way situation, meaning that, although you are the one, this has a lot to do with pace. So maybe you're the one and timing. So maybe you're the one who's really the pursuit of another person. But when you get into a relationship, you may find that the person that you were pursuing or the way that you're presenting yourself to attract another person is causing a certain amount of blockage in fully expressing yourself in that partnership. You may fall into a position of providing. So thinking that, you can give a lot in the relationship, beginning to put yourself in situations of hardships. Sometimes it's like a material hardship that, you're feeling like you can do it, like you can provide, you can give, and then finding out that you've overworked yourself, you've burned out in particular relationships, and it's just not going the way that you had hoped. So what is going on with this particular square is that if you can go through a period of seeing your worth outside of a relationship, because there's a lot of power, there's a lot of contemplative self-analysis or contemplative self-understanding and self insight or awakenings that you're very gifted with, and to take time away from relationships to allow yourself to go through those awakenings about yourself, seeing what you're worth outside of relationships is going to be quite important here, because when you have this type of an alignment, is somebody who does best taking their time in relationships, taking a time to evaluate another person, getting to know someone, and being able to understand other people's needs and other people's worth, and being able to give to another person, provide for another person based on what they're worth. So it can make you into somebody who's a really great lover. But in order to be a great lover, you need to take that time out to fulfill yourself, to see what you're worth, so that you're not going to a relationship that maybe you can be a little bit demanding with this type of a square. And so instead of being like more of the demanding type, being somebody who is fully capable in your own power and in your own energy, but going into a relationship to give, and you can be a great giver. You can be very sexy. You can be very confident once you work with this, because you know what you're worth outside of relationships, and you go into relationships super confident. Confidence is very sexy. You can be very desirable in your sexiness and your confidence, in your ability to know exactly what another person needs and be able to give that to them. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here when it comes to love and relationships. And now I'm just going to switch over to human design for a little bit. And by the way, before we go to human design, I just want to point out that your Chiron is actually in the sign of Gemini. So it's the same sign as the descendant. I would consider this to be sort of a, although it's a 6th house Chiron, it also is going to have a 7th house Chiron theme. So there is some past wounding when it comes to relating to other people and putting yourself out there and maintaining that commitment with another person. Maybe there's a wound of heartbreak or a commitment that ended way too soon or unpredictably, or some kind of strange Gemini behaviors in relationships, flaky types, or people who are not quite honest with you throughout the relationship about certain things. So that may have caused you a certain amount of heartbreak or wounding, and then, it became something that is hard for you to kind of put yourself out there again in relationships. But because it is a place of the wounded healer, I feel that you can really heal other people's relationships. You may be somebody who is learning so much from your relationships that you can offer so much healing to others. That's just what I'm seeing here. But yes, Mars is opposite your Chiron, and that Saturn conjunct Mars is opposite your Chiron. So even when it comes to actually helping people with their mind, body, soul, connection, healing, and everything that you've gone through with regards to what we talked about with that Mars conjunct Saturn, that can be something that you're here to give to other people, to give that wisdom, to offer that healing to others. That's what I'm seeing here. So if we jump to your human design right now for a little bit, this is your human design body graph. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but these particular energy, these centers, these geometrical shapes, they're different energy centers or chakras in your body. And if they're colored in, they have a color like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 centers colored in. It means that it's activated. They're energies that you need to be able to use every day. You can use it when you're alone. And you need to be able to use it every day for your health and well-being and to have a good sleep, using up that energy. So what I want to point out here is when we're talking about relationships is your Venus. So your Venus in human design is in gate 55. It's over here. Mercury, which rules your 7th house, is in gate 37. That Mars conjunct Saturn. Saturn is falling to gate 9. Mars is falling also into gate 9. That's over here. Okay. So what I'm noticing from this is that gate 9 is the gate of focus. So like we talked about, you can go very deeply into focusing on yourself, knowing yourself very deeply. And knowing yourself deeply, you may begin to discover something different that you have to offer in a relationship. This Mars conjunct Saturn squares both Mercury and Venus, right? So this Venus in gate 55, if I see this in human design body graph, whether it's conscious or unconscious, whether it's making a full channel or not, whatever planet's ruling that one, and yours is Venus, so it's quite important. It's the archetype of freedom. It's the game changer of life. And freedom or being the game changer. Well, being the game changer leads to freedom. And what we're talking about here when it comes to freedom is an ability to break out of the matrix. And okay, because Venus can be considered to be in your 4th house, since your 4th house is ruled by a set of Pisces, 3rd and 4th house. This looks to me like understanding your family dynamics, being able to focus and understanding yourself deeply. You may be able to push past and decondition. First of all, decondition your body, but also decondition the societal demands or expectations in relationships and family. So, for example, things like, we have to get married at a certain time in life because that is considered appropriate and successful. Or, we need to have children at a certain time in life, or this is how we have to raise children, and we have to continue raising children in this way. The foundation of how children are raised will impact how that child's going to grow up and the type of attachment issues that may come up in relationships and whether they're going to have successful relationships in their adult lives or not. It comes from the root of the family dynamic. So you're somebody who can see past this societal matrix or demand that's been set up that may not be true for everybody. So we're moving into the age of Aquarius. You are an Aquarius, and being able to break out of the matrix is going to be a theme that more people are going to, begin to do. And you are going to be doing that in your relationships because of that gate 55. So this means that the freedom's going to come when you no longer live your life following somebody else's timeline with regards to love, relationships, and family. And you create your own timeline. And I don't know what that is going to be because it's going to be individual for every single person. The way that you're going to do it, the way that you're going to pursue partnerships and relationships and have a family, it's going to be different for every single individual person. And that is dependent on your own personal spiritual abundance, which you have a lot of. And trusting in your spiritual abundance is what gets you out of the matrix and makes you that game changer and gives you that freedom. So, but you also have Mercury in the gate of 37, and 37, in the gene keys and the human design is a new type of family. It's about a new type of family. It's about seeing family as seeing the whole world as a family unit rather than, 4 or 5 people being a family. Because when you have, in the current day and age, this type of a family unit, it causes separation. There's competitions between one family and another family. And why do we have to do that? Because we're all human beings. And when you have the gate 37 activated in your human design as a part of your, relationship factor in astrology, the gender identity, when it comes to like male, females, mother, father, that may begin to change in your life, meaning that you, as a part of this intense understanding and deep understanding here, you may be here to form a particular community of your own where there's no gender identification anymore, where biologically male person in the family can play a more female role, or a biologically female person can play a more masculine role. Like, it does not matter. And creating that community is going to be super, super important. The 4th house is the house of finding a place to belong. It's finding belonging. And that's going to be a theme here, is for you to find that freedom is through creating yourself, or being a part of a new type of family unit where gender does not matter. So that's kind of the way that you're going to kind of break out of this matrix that we're seeing here. And I think that's going to be very interesting. And that's going to lead me to my next point, which I want to have a look at your sun real quickly for you. Your sun is in gate 27. Gate 27 degrees of Aquarius, conjunct Jupiter in the 3rd house. Now, whatever Jupiter touches, Jupiter bumps up that energy, okay? So the sun naturally rules your 9th house, and it's falling into the 3rd house. There's a lot of ability to shine in your communication and in the media, social media, and even, learning and communicating. Okay, there's a lot of passion there because if we go back to your human design, your sun is falling into gate 30 over here. And also Jupiter, which means that this is your prosperity and abundance point. And gate 30 human design is all about desire, and it's the archetype of the fire starter. This means that there's deep, 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 intense desires within you in what you want to learn, in maybe where you want to travel, in your immediate environment, in communities, in learning something, teaching something. But your sun is in line 4. Line 4 is about relationships. So it's like this really deep, intense passion and starting fires, meaning that you're going to go with your desires. You can be in this sort of like this journey of your life of going with your desires, where your inner fire is lighting up in the areas of your community and connecting with people and networking with people. That can be like an actual physical kind of like community, or it can be like an online community through the media as well, to share information, to learn, to teach, okay? But sometimes it may not work out the way that you hope. And that is the challenge here of following your desires and your passion and, starting a fire. You're going to test things out. You can, be very exciting in your life approach in relationships and communities, but sometimes you may say or do things that can, cut other people, can be a little bit overwhelming for people, and you may lose people along the way. But whatever happens, it's all a part of your learning journey. It's a part of your point of wisdom, and what you're going to shine in the most is being that experiential person who learns from taking a risk, from following their passions and seeing where that takes them, even though it may not always succeed. It's not failure because you're going to learn from it. You're going to learn from that type of an experience. And so there's always going to be wisdom that you're going to take from each individual experience. So, and Jupiter conjunct Sun people, by the way, are destined for so much popularity. You can be very influential, great teacher, speaker, and just there's popularity there, definitely. But the other challenge, the more intense challenge here is that Jupiter conjunct the Sun is in a square to your moon. So when we have Sun squaring to the moon, we're going to have some tensions going on in the home with regards to the mother and the father, because the moon rules the mothering figure, the Sun rules the fathering figure. There may have been fights or tensions or, spewing inner tension in the home that, you may have noticed was going on there. And so it builds within you, Monica, an inner self of, when it comes to the two core parts of you, the Sun, your wants, the moons, your needs, they're in conflict with each other. And it causes an inner tension inside of you as well because of that family dynamic. So when we look at your moon in human design, the moon is falling into gate 23. That's the Taurus moon. And the reason why this gate 23 and gate 30 are in a square or conflict with each other is because, as you can probably tell, the gate 20 can have a bit of that reckless energy, a bit of that, learning from life, trying, starting a fire type of an energy. And the gate 23 is the gate of simplicity. It only wants to live life according to the essentials and what it truly values. It's not going to go about trying to start a fire if it doesn't need to, but because Taurus and Aquarius are in a square to each other, they're not totally different. It's not like an in conjunction signs in astrology, which is like totally different. So there's some common ground there that we can work with this Sun square moon that you have going on here. And this is a part of your life purpose here as well, because the Sun is, your life's work in human design, and it's the way you shine in astrology. It's part of your life path in astrology. So the way to work with this Sun square Moon 3023 is to know that the 23 is as much of a game changer and as much of a revolutionary as the 30 actually is. Because when you work with this 23 correctly, it is not a simplicity of life that is based on society. Although it may seem like that, it may seem like at a certain point in time, you go to university, you get a job, you get a salary and income, you get married at a certain age, you have children at a certain age. That seems like a simple life. But who is that simple life for? If that simple life is not for you, life gets complicated. And with your chart, I'm going to assume that it's probably not, because your sun is in square to the moon. So living life according to society and what the society thinks is simple can be complicated for you. The simplicity of life comes when, and this gate is also called the gate of splitting apart, meaning that you're splitting apart your values to get to the bottom of what you truly value. So, if you don't value the things that society is imposing upon you, but you begin to uncover something deeper inside of you, the essence of your being and the essence of you, who you are, you have to split apart the things that are building up on top of that since your childhood. And this gate is about empowerment as well, because sometimes the repressions of the ability to live your life authentically is coming from the inability to communicate or to speak what you really think and what you really feel. And when you can't do that, you begin to say, okay, fine, I'm not gonna go along with what I really think. I'm not gonna go along with what I really feel. I'll just do what is expected of me. So that is when life gets complicated. When the truth of your essence, you already know what that is. You just have to split apart these values of the society that's being put on top of that, the layers and layers that forms a mountain on top of that, split that apart, get to the essence and true value of what it is that you want. And so when you do that, life becomes truly, authentically simple. But of course, the process of getting there is not going to be simple. And that's why there's still something that this Taurus moon and this Saturn Aquarius does have in common. And that is that revolutionary. So it's kind of like, as you begin to start the fire and go through these like risky, taking a risk in your life or going with your desires in your life, you can come back and use the gate 23 of this moon in Taurus to reflect on how some of those desires may be valuable to you, how some of them, they may not align with your true value, and dissect your experience and see what is the true essence of what you really value then from these fire starting experiences and extract that. I hope that kind of made sense. And so I want to finish off here. We're going to run out of time, but I want to finish off here by looking at your unconscious, your deepest purpose, Monica. And when we're looking at your deepest purpose, we want to see your unconscious earth. So your unconscious earth is in gate 8. That's also a Taurus gate. It's not going to show up in your natal chart right here because this natal chart is the personality. It's the conscious part of you. So gate 8 it's actually forming a channel. And this channel is called the channel of inspiration. And so at the deepest core parts of you, Monica, what's going on here, with this gate 8 is that this is the gate of the archetype of the influencer. At the shadow vibration of this particular deepest part of you is a mediocre life. So if you felt, and you may have felt this as a part of your life, is a dullness, a dull life, mediocre life, sameness, routines, and there's a diamond deep inside of you that is looking to come out. And at the highest, the gift level of this archetype in the gene keys, it's called style. And at the highest destiny or the city level, it's called exquisiteness. And style comes, and exquisiteness and style comes from being somebody who lives their life with regards to your lifestyle, the way that you, let's say, you dress, the types of people that you interact with, or the way that you pursue your career, the things that you do to present yourself to the world, anything, all parts of your life. Style is when you create it according to your soul. Style is not about, oh, I look at somebody on Instagram or I look at somebody's life somewhere and I'm going to live that life. That's going to put you in this place of living a mediocre life because it's not really your life. And people who are really in touch with the gate 8, they have a very unique way of living. They're totally unique. Like, let's say you want to be a healer and you want to get into healing. They're not just any, a mediocre healer, or they're not doing healing that other people have done before. They create it. They have fun with it. They paint that canvas the way that they want to paint it, and they make it theirs. They put their uniqueness in there, and so they become like a diamond in a field of rock, and that is what you are at the deepest parts of you. You're a diamond in that field of rock. And I would highly recommend that if you could start your own business, because you also have the channel 4426, and this channel I've seen a lot in entrepreneurs. It is the channel that has to do with being an entrepreneur, being able to take something that is like a product or a way of being that is not working anymore, improving that, updating that, whatever that might be. So if you're getting into healing, make it yours. And you will. I feel like you're not somebody who's going to do what everybody else has done before. Create it, find the essence of your being, and you're the soul of who you are. Put that into all of your creations and all the things that you want to do and create. That is your deepest purpose here. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing that I almost forgot to mention is your Incarnation Cross. This is what you're born here to do in this incarnation. Your Incarnation Cross is called the Cross of Contagion 1. So you're here to try something new, experiment with something new, and make it contagious for other people. And that's why this gate is the gate of the influencer. Your deepest purpose is the influencer, is that it's kind of like it can be an actual influencer where you're on social media, you're on YouTube or Instagram, and you share with us something new that, it becomes contagious and people follow along with that. Or it can be in your community. You can influence a particular community, bringing in something new that you've experimented, and have fun with that. Have fun with that type of an experimentation. And the rest of us are going to catch on to that. I assure you, you're very contagious. Yes. I think that is going to be it for today's reading. I hope that this reading has provided you with the insights that you're looking for. And I really enjoyed diving deeper into this with you, Monica. But I do feel like there's a lot more that we haven't been able to cover it. But yeah, I think that, there's a lot happening for you. And the great focus here for you during these times is definitely relationships with the North Node being a sign of Gemini. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. And I hope that you gained the insights you're looking for.